Our top story tonight, the U.S. Department of Justice is threatening to dismantle a landmark Washington state law designed to help sick Hanford workers.
The DOJ says it will file a lawsuit against the state in a matter of days if the law is not repealed. King 5 investigator Susannah here now to explain what this all means. Susannah.
Lori and Mark, the Law to Help Hanford workers came after a 2-year King 5 investigation. We exposed that those workers were being systematically and unfairly denied their worker compensation claims. Now, why would the federal government possibly be against that? Because it means the U.S. Department of Energy, which owns Hanford and runs their own worker comp program, has to pay out more money to help sick workers.
Today, sick Hanford workers got news that a recent victory is under attack by the federal government.
I'm really pissed off about that. I don't know if I could say that, but I am.
That's the wife of former Hanford worker Lonnie Rouse. For 10 straight years, his compensation claims were rejected. He has occupational dementia and a personnel file listing exposures to poisons that would cause it. Radiation, plutonium, radon, radioactive metals, cesium and strontium-90, and a large spill of mercury he was sent to clean up with no mask for protection. But the U.S. Department of Energy denied he got sick at Hanford. Instead, they accused Rouse of things like faking his illness.
It's very frustrating because you can have everything in the world for evidence. You can have it in black and white, basically, showing what's going on out there. But no one will listen out there. They just, no, it didn't happen here.
But in March, hope arrived, and Rouse was there to witness it.
Can we give a round of applause to Larry and to this great bill?
Governor Inslee signing a bill into law that gives certain Hanford workers the presumption that they got sick at work, paving the way to finally get rejected claims approved. And that's exactly what happened last month when this letter came in the mail. Your claim is allowed. The worker is entitled to receive medical treatment and other benefits.
Finally, the scales of justice are turning in his favor, in every Hanford nuclear worker's favor, that finally these guys have some chance.
But with this letter sent to Inslee this month, the DOJ is saying not so fast. They're threatening to sue the state, saying the law violates the U.S. Constitution because it discriminates against the federal government. The DOJ is essentially saying the state is picking on Hanford because they're being treated differently from other employers in the state. This is Tom Carpenter of the advocacy group Hanford Challenge.
That's not picking on Hanford, that's just being realistic about the conditions that workers face out there and what they've had to go through just to get medical. People are losing their houses, having to sell off their stuff just to get medical care.
The Rouse's home has been in foreclosure more than once, and every week to feed their family, they visit the local food bank.
It's ridiculous, and hopefully the people that live here in our state and in this Washington who don't want to be poisoned or have their families poisoned by Hanford can fight against that.
The state attorney general, Bob Ferguson, says he's ready to fight. He sent a statement to us today saying if the DOJ does file a lawsuit, he'll look forward to defending it. He really put an extra zinger in there, too. He said, you know, I've never lost against this Department of Justice on any issue. So bring it on.
Yeah. I think, Susannah, what's most confusing about this is these workers had to fight the federal government for years to be recognized that the problems they were suffering should be fixed. And then the state passes this law, and now the federal government is fighting that law. It's as if at some point, don't you think they have to stop denying that these workers are getting sick because of their work environment?
You would think so, and that's one thing that the workers would really like to have that said to them, because they feel like no one's been held accountable. They will never admit, they haven't admitted so far, that they've ever hurt a Hanford worker. It makes absolutely no sense. Their own experts, year after year, have said, you're making them sick. And so it's just another tactic, another kind of nail in the coffin for people that are suffering.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Thank you, Susannah.
Thanks, Susannah.